All right, what's going on, everybody? Frank Paul Santangelo from the downtown studios back in San Francisco. Arrived late last night from Atlanta. Where do we start, folks? I have no idea. I need a couch and a therapist right now. Because right when I think, wow, they really played half decent Atlanta, they could have won 2 out of 3. I tweeted it out last night, got a lot of response on my Twitter, both good and bad, which I love the passion from Giants fans always. I never discourage any sort of passion on my Twitter or on my show, 808 KNBR. We'll talk all night tonight. I imagine we're going to have full phone lines, so chime in whenever you want. And if we don't have full phone lines after tonight, I'm going to worry, because usually a bad loss incites a riot here on the night show. And if we get apathy and people start feeling sorry for this ball club, we're in trouble. So Giants lose 10-4 to Philadelphia. 10 runs on 16 hits for the Phillies, 4 runs on 9 hits for the Giants. I dug up this stat. When the Giants score 4 or more runs this year, they're 54-16. So 4 runs based on how this team is supposed to play defense and supposed to pitch should win them a lot of games, and it has so far. It didn't tonight. That was ugly. I mean, there's no other way to put that. That was ugly. And I'm on this mental roller coaster. I think I'm on the same one you guys are on right now, where one day I'm in and one day I was like, ugh. And the next day I'm in and the next day I'm like, ugh. And they'll probably come back tomorrow and Kyle Harrison will shove and they'll win 7-2 or something. And then you're back on and then something else. I just think that's the way this ball club is. I think it is what it is at this point, right? They're 65-60. They're 5 games over 500. So 125 games into the season, you are what you are right now. There's no magic cure. There's no flip of the switch. And the way the Giants go about it is there's strength in numbers and versatility. And they believe, and this is the one I have a hard time wrapping my head around, and I have to be honest with you guys, and I have to have my credibility, that as a former utility player that took pride in every position I played in and worked my ass off at it, not that these guys aren't. My goal was on a daily basis, if you came to see me play whatever position and you came to one game all year, you thought that was my everyday position. That guy's a good second baseman. And maybe some fans say, no, he's a utility player. And they, really? And I would think that in my mind. I would play tricks in my head with that. That's how I motivated myself to work hard every single day on defense. And I see these guys doing it, but I also know that the Giants, at times, it doesn't seem that they value where you stand. And I've always said there's playing a position and there's standing at a position. There's 2 different things. Playing a position is, I don't know, the way Alec Boehm played first base tonight, the way Trey Turner plays shortstop, the way Brandon Crawford played shortstop in his prime and is still playing it at times this year. That's playing a position. Standing a position is, okay, there's an 8 by my name and there's a 5 by my name in the lineup card, or a 6 by my name today, and I'm going to go take ground balls there, but that's not my natural position. So what happens when you don't play your natural position? There's moments in a game when you're playing in front of a big crowd that when you're playing the same position every day, it's just autopilot. Flip the switch, I go to the ball, I know where to be in a cutoff, I know how to play this ball off the wall, I know how to throw the ball to first with this arm angle. I used to always joke, different day, different arm angle. And I would play catch with JT Snow all the time. He's like, where are you playing? I'm like, center, and I'd throw right over the top, 4-seamers to JT. He'd be like, where are you playing today? I'd be like, second base, and I'd throw like kind of 3/4 throws to JT. Where are you playing today? Third base? Okay, that's over the top, a little bit bigger glove today. Shortstop, well, I can do all the arm angles like Patrick Bailey does when he catches from short. I can go over the top in the hole. On the run, I can go underhand. So outfield was straight over the top, big glove. Second base, small glove. Shortstop, medium glove. Third base, big glove. Different arm angles. And you work at those and you play these tricks in your mind where this is my everyday position. So Wilmer hasn't played third in a while today. He launched one. Wilmer's a baseball player. And you can kind of forgive when he makes an error because he's a baseball player. He comes to show up every day. And I love the way he plays, and he's raking right now. Wade Meckler, I checked. He played 20 games in center field this year in the minors. 172 innings. He had 29 putouts, 2 assists, 2 errors. He had a .939 fielding percentage in center field. That's not good. Not in center field. That's not good. .939. You should be 1,000 fielding. Maybe, I don't know. Remember when Darren Lewis won all those games for the Giants without making an error in center field? He had that streak. I don't even know what it is. I could Google it right now, but I don't think the number's important. You guys remember when D-Lou was out there? And Royce Clayton. And you think about Robbie Thompson and Will Clark and Matt Williams, and you think about all the great Giants defenders over the course of history. I mean, this organization, whether it was Candlestick Park at a day game with the wind blowing or Oracle Park, AT&T Park, Pac Bell Park, whatever the name you want to use, this organization's always prided itself on defense. And it's gotten better this year. Today was just bad. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And when you looked at Blake Sable in left field, he ran in on a ball. He misjudged it. He's a catcher playing left field. He's done a decent job in left field. He's trying his ass off. But here's the thing, and I say this all the time. You guys have heard this before. The major leagues isn't a try league. It's a do league. And as cutthroat and is unsympathetic, if that's even a word that sounds like, no empathy. It's just the way it is. So you either get the job done or you don't get the job done. And if you don't get the job done, it's a next sport. And it sounds really cruel, but that's the way it is. And there was a lot of things that happened in tonight's game. Shaman, I didn't have his A stuff. I mean, this was one of the biggest games of the year because this is the team right in front of you in the wild card. This would have been a matchup in the playoffs had they played tonight. Or the playoffs started tonight, more correctly. So when you come out there and it's a clunker, I go back to the first inning tonight. You can win a game in the first inning. When you have a guy like Aaron Nola on the ropes, and he's a damn good pitcher, right? And you have a home run from Jock Peterson, a low scud out of the ballpark, and then Wilmer singles, Conforto singles, a Bailey singles. Like, I know that the Giants have been cursed with the bases loaded this year. But then Camargo hits into the 1-2-3 double play. Buzzkill. Huge buzzkill. Because you're thinking, when you're going good and you get the bases loaded as a team in a dugout, you're thinking, this is going to be 3, 4, maybe even a 5 spot. When you're going bad as a team offensively, as far as driving in runs, you're kind of pumped when you get one across. And the Giants won that game yesterday in Atlanta by getting hit by a pitch. A couple hit by pitches, a couple walks. They didn't even get a hit. They won the game. So it was kind of gifted to them, although I think walks are, when somebody says a free pass, that always gets my dander up because it's hard to walk in the big leagues. You got to grind out your at-bat, lay off pitches. It's a stressful at-bat unless it's just a 4-pitch snowball fight. But like to walk in the big leagues is hard. So free pass, my ass. I mean, it's hard to walk in the big leagues. So, I mean, I don't know what you do. If we knew what to do and they knew what to do, they wouldn't be doing this. But then all of a sudden, I'm kind of preparing for the show, half paying attention to the ninth inning because it's 10-2, and I hear Raph cheering on the other side, and I go, "What happened?" He said, "Well, a single and a couple of walks." I'm like, "Okay." So I run back out there and I start watching the ninth inning again and put down my show prep, and I'm sitting here in the studio, and I start paying attention, and then Wade Meckler's up in a big situation. The Phillies make a change, and he has a really good at-bat, lines out to Alec Boehm at first, and Johan Camargo cannot get doubled. When you're down by 6, there is nowhere to go. Tony La Russa used to have a safety lead, meaning I don't even care if you get a secondary lead right here, just get a small lead because we can't get doubled up right now, and they'd have a sign for it. And you would kind of know as a player, and I knew as a player, like if I'm on second down by 6, I got nowhere to go. This is just baseball 101. Common sense. Like, I'm probably not going to get waved at third unless the ball's in the gap. We're down by 6. Take it to another level, which I love base running. I could talk about it all night. You're playing at Citizens Bank Ballpark. It's a short ballpark. There's no, you got a boogie from second base to score at Citizens Bank because there's no room in the outfield. It's a small ballpark. The ball gets on the outfielders like that. So, small ballpark. It's not Coors Field where you can score on a base hit easy because it's a field out there. It's a pasture. It's a small ballpark. There's nowhere to go if you're Johan Camargo there. Like, just don't even take a secondary. You go back. So if you're a younger player listening right now, it's not freeze on a line drive, it's back on a line drive. If you freeze on a line drive, you're out. That old saying, like freeze on a line drive, no, back on a line drive. So as soon as you see a low line drive in the infield, your first step, regardless of the score, is jab step back to the base. Your natural reaction is to jab step toward the next base. That's too late. Your natural reaction is to freeze. That's too late, especially at the highest level when it's boom, boom. So back on a line drive. No way you can get doubled up right there. That's inexcusable. So, I mean, I don't want to crush Wade Meckler tonight. Although it would be real easy. It's low-hanging fruit because he does not look like a big leaguer right now. And that's as far as I'll go. But the game seems to be moving fast for him on both sides, whether it's center field in his defensive play or at the plate currently. He's 3 for 21 with 13 strikeouts. As a former little guy that was a salmon swimming upstream, I heard him tell his story on Murph and Mac the other day, and that's exactly my story. I was the smallest guy. I was the runt of the litter. I was 5 feet, 90 pounds my freshman year of high school. I used to get in fights in 6th and 7th and 8th grade because I looked like I was 6 years old and not 13 or 14. And always the smallest kid. And always battling, scrapping, clawing, and always trying to prove people wrong the whole way. Had a chip on my shoulder. I'm going to prove you wrong. I don't care how big I am. It made me tough. It made me fight for everything. And even, once you get to high school, well, he's kind of an undersized shortstop. He runs okay. And, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. You go to college, well, hey, and you show them, I'm going to prove you wrong. You don't think I can play? I'm going to prove you wrong. Then you get in the minor leagues, you get drafted in the 20th round, sign for $1,000, and you just want to get your foot in the door because you believe in yourself. And then everyone's saying, well, he won't make it out of A-ball. And then you do. And then you get to AAA, and you finally get to the big leagues. And then all the people along the way that told you couldn't do it, you just want to go back and give them a high five and say thank you for inspiring me to tell me that I was too small, too slow, too short, too this, too that. Like, you inspired me. And when I give motivational speeches, and I've done a lot of them, I always say there's two kinds of people in the world. When somebody tells you can't do it, you say, you know what, you're right. I agree, you're right. Or the other person says, F you, I'm going to show you that I can do it. And that's what I resonate with. That's what I relate to. And that was fuel in my tank. So I would think about Bob Milano at the University of California, Berkeley, when I was playing there, that said, I went to his office and said, do you see me playing here? And he's like, no, just use your scholarship for a good education. I don't see you playing here or past here. Thank you. You can have my scholarship. I'm going to go somewhere else. And so it was examples like that. And I could sit here for the whole show till 10 o'clock tonight and tell you examples like that. So it's hard for me to get on Meckler because his story is a good story. But a lot like Brock Purdy, when you get your day in the sun, you got to shine. When you're not like the first round pick in the prospect and the thoroughbred, and you get a chance in the big leagues, as harsh as this sounds right now, this is just cold hard facts. I'm not going to crush this kid. And hopefully he turns it around. We say, remember when you started 3 for 21 with 13 Ks and now you're hitting 310? That could happen if he's given the opportunity. But there's this other saying that if I ain't hitting, you ain't hitting, meaning I'm going to rob every hit. And for a guy that played center field the majority of my career, I'm watching his jumps, I'm watching his routes, I'm watching all the little nuances of the position that I took great pride in. He's not a center fielder. And, tonight he got turned around on that ball. He got too close to the wall. As a center fielder, there's a time when you're running toward the ball and it's going toward the wall that I got a chance for this. I'm going to jump up, crash hard. Hopefully it stays in my glove. Or I got no chance. The ball's past me. I got to hit the brakes, backpedal, and play it on a hop. And I've seen him a couple of times get too close to the wall. And I know Philly's tricky, but as a young outfielder, every ballpark I went to, I had my coaches fungal balls off the wall so I could see how it reacted the first game in. So say it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Coach, come out there. Whoa, grab a fungo. Hit some balls off this wall. I want to see how it plays. Hit some balls down the corner. Does it stick in the corner or does it wrap around the corner and shoot out? What does it do on this little diagonal piece of the wall in left center field? If the ball hits here, what does it do? When my first game at, I think it was Pac Bell then, and I was a Dodger, and I can't remember our infield coach, and I had him stand at second base and hit balls off the bricks. And they go 18 different ways. You never know, but I wanted to see how it played off the bricks. So these are all things you take care of the first game of a series, before the first game of a series. And I don't know what Wade Meckler did today. I'm not there. But when you talk about what's going on, I don't think that was an inside the park home run. They ruled it that, but he dropped the ball twice, and that was a rough play to watch. So I'm not going to get too down on this team, because if you do that, you're on the roller coaster. And tomorrow could be a different day. And I don't give up on teams based on a lot of years of experience until they have an X by their name or they're eliminated officially. And they're still in the playoffs right now. It's just a little discouraging and frustrating as a Giants fan tonight because this is a big series, man. It's August 21st. There's less than 40 games left in the season, I think. What did I say? That's game 125. Raph, do the math for me. And, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. And like I said, that you could have won that game in the first inning. You put a 3-spot or a 4-spot on Nola, that's a tough comeback for the Phillies. So 808 KNBR if you want to chime in. Let's go to the phones right now. They're starting to light up. I see the text message line lighting up. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. I got it. All right, let's go to Johnny in Brisbane. Johnny, you're on the Sports Leader. What's going on?
FP, what's happening?
Nothing, man. Hey, not a great game for the Giants tonight, and there's no way to sugarcoat this one. I'm not going to sit here and try to.
No, my wife actually took the kids to the A's game, so I sat here and made a good cocktail and watched the game and was thoroughly depressed. I think that was sort of a just sort of a example of like what a bad baseball team does, and just a culmination of a lot of bad Giants games I've seen. Just bad defense. Trying to hit the long ball, not putting the ball in play, and not pitching too well. So I just wanted to talk about the philosophy of the front office and how I think it's just totally off track. Just about.
Is that your wife? I'm kidding.
No, that's my
joking. Send your emails to KNBR.com.
Hey, dude, I love a good joke. I actually met my wife on the field at Oracle Park.
No way.
So,
Wait. We'll get to your point. Yeah. We got plenty of time. I want that story first.
Okay, so I was there. They let kids run the bases, right, on Sundays, and I was there with my 8-year-old nephew. And she went to high school with some friends of mine, and they were there with their kids. And I talked to my buddy the next day. I met her and saw them running the bases right by the first bases coach's box. And I got introduced to her, and I called my buddy the next day I was in high school with. I said, "Who's the 5'10" blonde? That's your wife's cousin." I think our first date was Friday night in the bleachers in 2007.
So Orange Friday was your first date?
Exactly.
That's a great story, dude. I'm getting goosebumps. So like how obviously it went well.
Obviously we were at game 1 of the 2010 World Series on our firstborn son's due date.
No way.
Yeah.
And then
head was spinning. My head was spinning, bro.
What's your son's name? Lincecum?
Sean.
All right. That's a good name too.
Yeah.
All right. So you met your wife at the ballpark, which is cool. She sounds like a gamer and a keeper.
Absolutely.
I feel bad about my joke now even more.
Don't worry. No, so I just have I'm a 20-year season ticket holder who gave my tickets up. I just had enough of all of it, right? Just this front office regime, which I actually think ownership is totally okay with the approach this front office takes, which may be even more depressing than the front office itself. And, it goes back for me to opening day, the way they treated Bryce Johnson, when they wouldn't announce the lineup in New York and brought in Matt Beatty. No offense to Matt Beatty, but he was a quadruple A DFA from the Royals.
That's a fair point, Johnny, and I didn't love that either.
You know what I mean? And it's when you're in spring training, you've been through it, I haven't. You want to gather the troops and you want to build your team and you want to look at everybody in the locker room, Hunter Pence style, and say, these are the guys we're going to war with. And, I read the Susan Slusser article or a tweet about the people, the side eyes that people were given in the locker room when Matt Beatty locked in. I just didn't like that, and I just don't think that's how you treat people. I also think they screwed up by giving Jock Peterson a qualifying offer. I think they thought that he would reject it and go seek a 3-year deal somewhere else, and he took the $19 million. So we're paying $19 million for basically a quarter of a baseball player who doesn't play defense and specializes in pinch hitting against right-handed pitching. So is that an $80 million value? I just don't get it.
So these are all valid points. What would it take to get you to go back and to renew your season tickets for next year? I mean, because I feel like there's a lot of I have a lot of friends here that are making the same points you make.
I mean, I want to see the point about the defense too. I want to see a lineup day in and day out. I think their brains have gone to their heads. Do you know what I mean? And to your point about positioning and data, I think it's gone totally overboard. And I think why our defense is so bad is because when haven't played a lot of baseball, but I coach baseball, right? I coach now my kids' teams and all that. I know an infield is like 5 fingers of a hand. And you know exactly where you're supposed to be, and you know where the other guy's going to be. And so when you have guys interchanging all over the place, you have no flow, no rhythm, no consistency to your defense. And I think why our defense is so bad, it's better than last year, but it's still bottom 5 in the league in most categories that you look in. The reason why is because we platoon all over the place, right? So I just want to see a real lineup day in and day out. Look what the Phillies did last year. They fired Joe Girardi, quit platooning, and went on a run all the way to the World Series, right? So none of this I am philosophically okay with. And I think until we see a change in the front office and a change in approach, you're probably not going to get me back there.
That's a fair answer and a well-put answer. I think the Giants believe in productivity through versatility. And that's what they do with their pitching. That's what they do with their defense. That's what they do with their lineup. That's what they do with their matchups. So, in an ideal world, Gabe wants everybody to play every position. He wants every pitcher to be in on however he uses them, whenever he uses them. And it's all about the team approach. And that's why he talks about clubhouse, the value of the person in the clubhouse, the man in the clubhouse, and being willing to be a team guy. And
that goes well when it goes well, but when it doesn't go well, I think about a guy like Cody Bellinger, right, who was the MVP, but then would only face right-handed hitting. And then when you put a guy in a situation where he's not supposed to succeed, he's already been told you won't succeed. A lot of baseball is about confidence. A lot of times, to a certain extent, I'll take confidence over talent sometimes, right? I don't think Gabe Kapler would have ever let Michael Morse face Pat Neshek in that game, righty on righty, right? That's confidence. That's Bruce Bochy having confidence in Michael Morse in that at bat against the Cardinals. Do you know what I mean? I think what you're telling people when you platoon all the time is, I have no confidence in you to succeed in this situation, and that's what I'm opposed to.
Yeah, dude. Great call, Johnny. I mean, I understand all your passion. And like I said, I open the phone lines for Giants fans to vent. And I love an intelligent, well thought out point that you made without screaming or yelling, fire this guy, fire that guy. You're just a Giants fan that has an opinion on where things are going right now. And that's what this show's all about. So that was really well done, Johnny.
Here's the deal. Thanks, Johnny. FP. Here's the deal.
You can thank yourself, too.
I was here long before these guys got here, and I'll be here long after they're gone. So whether they're here doing good or bad, I'm a Giants fan for life, and, we'll see what happens.
Johnny, you're awesome. And I have a T-shirt idea, and I think it's one of the better lines I've ever heard. Yeah, maybe you get a T-shirt made that says Giants baseball. Their brains have gone to their heads.
Totally. Absolutely.
That's a line of the night, dude. I don't think that could be topped. You could co-host a show with me sometime, dude, because even if we disagree on some of your points, I love how you presented it. I love how mature it was, how well thought out it was, how you articulated your thoughts in a very intelligent manner. Really good call, Johnny. Way to lead off the show tonight. I'm glad I took you first.
Go Giants. See ya.
Go Giants. See, that's a good Giants fan. I mean, he's frustrated, but it wasn't like, and you could come on here and yell this or yell that. I had a segment that I was going to do tonight that I had to S-can. That was I tweeted out something last night about how the Giants almost took 2 out of 3. I'm going to read the tweet to you. And it just doesn't play anymore after tonight's game. I had a tweet that got like 600 likes. I said, Giants were close to winning 2 out of 3 from one of the best teams I've seen in a long, long time. Talking about the Braves. In a raucous, loud, enthusiastic environment. Don't jump off the bandwagon just yet. Hashtag SF Giants. Hashtag don't stop believing. I was going to read all the comments. There's 60 comments there. Some are good, most are bad. And it just doesn't play tonight. Not after losing 10-4. So maybe we'll readdress tomorrow night. Because I was going to do like the mean tweets kind of a thing and read all the negative comments because some are funny. And I find humor in a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't find humor in. Let's go to Gordo in Menlo Park. Gordo, you're on the Sports Leader. What's going on?
FB, good to hear you, man. You dropped some really good nuggets in your intro. Great show so far. So, yeah, I'm looking at this thing. I agree with a lot of what Johnny said, but I'm thinking, that the front office is rolling the dice what if Matos comes in and hits 12 home runs? What if, what was that guy's name, Landingham, that broke his arm? What if that guy didn't break his arm and he hits 25 home runs? You know, it seems like they're just rolling the dice and hoping that something. What if Discofani won 18 games and lost 3? You know, that could have happened. But, you know, baseball, the ebb and flow, you know, we listen to you explain it every night, and you're really good at it. And I think the front office was just hoping that things would break a different way. I mean, the Sean Jelly thing, I'm going, please. But this is just the ebb and flow of human competition and human drama, and I'm not bummed out about it. It would have been better if that center fielder had caught that ball, you know, and stuff like that.
Or picked it up on the first try.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But at any rate,
or the second try.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to criticize the move that they make because they're rolling the dice and hoping that it hits, you know. And so Johnny, you know, had a lot of really good points. But, you know, I just want to stay upbeat about it. I love the game. They lost. They got hammered. Schwarber, upper deck, the crowd roaring was drowning out John Miller. I couldn't hear John Miller that well because the crowd was so loud. But, you know, the Giants lost. And I did want to comment also that you and Joe Rizzo were a wonderful team over the weekend. And when Joe Rizzo said, the fans are getting a little nervous here, and then you immediately chimed in, and the broadcasters are getting a little nervous. Brilliant, FD.
Thanks, man.
Brilliant.
Gordo, thank you. I had a lot of fun with Joe. He's great at what he does, and we have a good time together. But, hey, thanks for the call, Gordo. I think you were thinking of Mitch Haniger and not Landingham, but, yes, all good. I mess up names all the time if you listen to any broadcast. I appreciate the call, Gordo. Good stuff. Let's take a quick break, Raph, and everybody on hold, stay right there. We got full phone lines. If you're trying to chime in, be patient. We're going to take a quick commercial break. The Giants with a tough one tonight in Philadelphia. We'll be back with your calls next on the Sports Leader.
And the point about the defense, too, I want to see a lineup day in and day out. I think their brains have gone to their heads.
Well, obviously seen Aaron Nola quite a bit over the years in many different capacities, and one thing we know is if you give him a second chance, he's going to come back and punish you for it. And I think that's what happened. Inching towards 30 pitches there in the first inning, and we weren't able to deliver that final kind of good punch that would give us a good cushion and then potentially have him throw more pitches.
Yeah, they had a chance in the first inning tonight. If you missed the game, Giants lose 10-4 to the Phillies. It was a mess. They didn't play good defense. They had a chance to win the game in the first inning. Jock Peterson had a first inning home run. I had a stat here somewhere. Let me see where that is. Jock had a first inning home run. Then it was single by Wilmer, single by Conforto, single by Bailey. So they had bases loaded, one out. They were up 1-0, and then Camargo hits into 1-2-3 double. I mean, we could talk about Wade Meckler in center field tonight, but Johan Camargo had a tough game. He was doubled off with the bases loaded, down by 6 in the 9th. That's a yikes. That can't happen. So, yeah, that was 63 at-bats since Jock Peterson's last home run, 728 against the Red Sox. And Sean and I hadn't allowed a homer since May 17th. So just, I guess you flush that game, but like like I said, and this isn't trying to be a smart ass or anything other than, 65-60 after 125 games, you are what you are. I think maybe Kyle Harrison tomorrow can give this team a shot in the arm, but they got to catch the ball behind him. And you saw that environment tonight. The bank is rocking again. There was years when I went to the bank, Citizens Bank Ballpark in Philadelphia, and there was nobody there. It was crickets. And, they in the 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, that place was rocking. And then there was a period from like 13 to 18 or whatever it was where there was nobody there. But I'll say this about the Philadelphia baseball sports fan. They're passionate, and they were there tonight, and they were letting it rip. So, what a great environment if you're Kyle Harrison tomorrow night. You got to look around and look up to the third deck and see it packed and just soak it all in and embrace it and take that energy and just have a great time. Like, let it rip, baby. There was a good story on Logan Webb about how Brandon Belt came up to him before his first game. You guys probably read this, so I'm not saying anything you don't know. He said, hey, have fun tonight. Don't F it up. And so now Logan Webb has passed that tradition on to younger players. Hey, have fun tonight before their debut. Don't F it up. And I'm sure he said that, or he'll say that to Kyle Harrison tomorrow, which is kind of a cool tradition. It was deadpanned by Belt. Hey, have fun tonight. Don't F it up. That's my Brandon Belt. How was that? Was that good? Some really good calls tonight so far. You guys, Johnny, you rocked. You should see the text line. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. It's right there. I'll say it again right. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. Because everybody here in sales works really hard, and I want to get that right. Johnny was great. Johnny rocked. Johnny was a stud. Watch out for your job, FP. Wow, Johnny leading off with some heat. Yeah, it was a good call, man. I love it. It doesn't have to be everything I agree with, but if you come on here with an intelligent take and you're a passionate Giants fan, you've been a season ticket holder forever, you have the right to say whatever you want about this ball club. Within reason, you can't swear. But that's fine. That's what we're here for. Don has been waiting for a while. Don, what's going on? How we doing tonight, Don?
Not so great.
How's the blood pressure?
Great.
How's the blood pressure?
Well, I'm just trying to hang in there. That's all I am.
Yeah, aren't we all, Don? Aren't we all?
If the Giants don't make the playoffs here, that was just like some disappointing. I don't know. I think somebody got to go in this front office, man. It's too much.
So who would you like to go, Don?
If we don't make it this year, I think Farhan should go. Really, I'm sick of him, man. He's just making too many things. He don't even do nothing. He just talks and don't do nothing.
Okay, what would you like him to do? Maybe sign some free agents? Like what would make you have faith in him again?
If he signs some free agent, then I'll believe in him. Then I would believe in him. If he signs some good free agents and we need some key people here. That's all I can tell you. That's all we need here.
See,
key people, no matter what it takes.
Yeah, well, what it's going to take is here's my worry, and I don't know if this is worth a hill of beans. Hell, what do I know? Is that if you're a free agent, this is hard to say. If you're a free agent, I mean, and you're a hitter, this ballpark isn't conducive to hitting. I suggested jokingly this weekend that the Giants should move home plate out to where, halfway to the mound and make it more conducive to home runs. Like you can't move the right field wall in, so maybe move home plate up and make it more attractive to hitters. And it's still probably a good place to pitch, even if you do move home plate up. But yeah, I don't know if I'm a free agent, if I'm going to buy into the getting pinch hit for early thing. And I don't know if I'm a free agent, if I'm going to buy into starting the third inning as a starter. And these guys talk. So that's my big fear about the offseason, if I'm being perfectly honest. That it's a wonderful organization that treats family better than any organization. It's first class. You should see how they travel, the hotel. I mean, they treat players right. It's still the New York Yankees of the National League as far as how they treat their players. But then you get to, the nuts and bolts of how you're going to be used, and I think that's something that guys will take a look at, good or bad. Maybe some guys, and I know there's some guys on the team right now that probably enjoy the platoon thing. And I know there's probably some guys in the big leagues that don't enjoy that. I know there's some guys that probably don't care where they pitch. And I know there's some guys that do. So it's just a personal thing and a personal basis. But if you're going to ask how the families are treated, what the ballpark is like, what the fans are like, what the clubhouse is like, what the travel is like, all A-pluses for this organization. My one worry is if you're a free agent and you start texting guys and talking that, it depends on what you're looking for, I guess. And I guess that's true for every team, not just the Giants.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, Don, thanks for waiting, man. I appreciate it. I always like to make sure you're okay. If you guys remember, Don called like early in the season when the Giants lost a home game to the Dodgers. And it was a tough one, and he was really, really worried. And you know what? We didn't make fun of him. We validated his feelings, and the stuff he was worried about is kind of still stuff that we're all worried about as a Giants fan. We had a little fun with him about breathing. Remember, we had to breathe because he was really, really worried. Let's go to Jeff. No, let's go to Keith and Merced. Raph, Keith and Merced. You're on KNBR. What's going on, Keith?
Hey, FP, how you doing?
Sorry, Jeff. I'll get to you next. I balked. Keith, what's going on? I'm doing okay, man. How are you doing?
Great. I thought of I was in Atlanta about a month ago myself, and did you stay at the Marriott Marquis?
I am not at liberty to say.
Oh, you're not at liberty.
The Giants stay on the road.
Darn, because
guys like
nice
you,
hotel.
Keith, you never know, man. You just never know, dude. You could be waiting in the lobby with I don't know. Will you sign this for me?
Right?
Will you sign this for me? I have a ball. I'm just kidding.
I know. No. I'm being on the internet a lot, and it's very discouraging reading all these posts now. I mean, people are just so negative right now, and it's sad. It's really sad because I've been a fan forever. Since the 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, and it's sad that how people are thinking. I mean, I know everybody's frustrated and all that, but one of the questions I have for you is, how do you evaluate the team speed? What do you think of the speed of the team?
It's not good. No.
Oh, they can't.
No.
Because one of the things I was thinking, I go, change
Tyro
things up.
can, Meckler can.
It was funny because I was at the game. I was in
Slater,
Sacramento.
Right.
I was at Sacramento the other night, and I actually talked to the manager for a few minutes, and I asked him a question. I said, "How come people don't hit and run anymore? How come? I mean, really, it's just like it's gone away." And he goes, "Well, the analytics, this and that, and it's sometimes because I've coached baseball. I'm a high school coach, and I said, I know I do what I do at this level is totally different than what you do. But I said sometimes I go, you just roll the dice. I said, and it seems like right now, what would hurt a hit and run? He says, well, it's just not the way it's done now. They don't, the different teaching of the launch angle because a hit and run's a different skill. And I go, it's just, I don't know. Just to open the game up, I'm sure Gabe Kapler has thought about all this, but it would seem to think that you could change it up just a little bit. Put guys in motion. I mean, I don't know. It's.
I enjoy that brand of baseball, Keith, but like it's hard. Like even there was times in the big leagues when the hit and run was in vogue that like the player would look at the third base coach like, really, I have to swing at this pitch. Like, you're going to make me, like, give myself up here and swing at any pitch to hit a ground ball? Because, you know, hit and run is the guy's stealing, and you're supposed to hit the ball on the ground. Ideally, if you can manipulate and you get the pitch, you want to hit behind him. And you know who's covering, whatever. You kind of look who's cheating towards second base before it. I used to love the hit and run as a hitter because it took the mystery out of whether I was swinging or not. I love the hit and run. And then you look like a hero if the ball's up in your face and you get on top of it, hit on the ground, the guy gets a second. It's kind of stay out of the double play thing. But I used to enjoy that play. But I just feel like the way the game has evolved and hitting the ball over the shift, hitting home runs, now there's no shift. And you think maybe with a stolen base back in vogue, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 56 on the year going into tonight. I didn't see if he stole a base. And a lot of guys are running now. Maybe that's more in play than it was. But, like, yeah, I enjoy that play. But I just don't think it's part of baseball right now because the analytics say don't give up an out. Outs are precious. And that would be like bunting, in a sense, to give up an out.
But, you know, it's just like you just said, you know, the analytics. And it's like, you know, sometimes, I mean, you've been at that. You're at the major league level yourself. I mean, play with your gut sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying because the way the offense is so stagnant. I was in Anaheim last week watching them play the Angels. And it was just the one game that they strung the hits together. It was wonderful. And then all of a sudden, it was just like things got shut down again. I'm going, just send the guy. You know, you just if they did that, you don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm just reaching to think. Right
no,
now.
you know, Keith, you make good points as well. The one thing I would say is you talk to the manager. Do you know where he lives? Because you already asked where the team hotel is, and I'm kind of getting scared.
No, I have a friend who's he introduced me.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah, I know. But, you know, next time you're in Atlanta, I'll probably be knocking on your door because I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not telling you where I live in San Francisco.
No, I know that.
No, Keith, here's the thing. Like, change is hard for all of us. And I think Bruce Bochy coming back with the Rangers and doing so well opened up a lot of great memories for us and also kind of made us all think a couple of times or twice or three times about the glory days, right? It's always hard to get over the glory days. It really is. I say I like baseball however you give it to me. Like, I'm a seam head, right? I like the analytics. I like the new wave of baseball. It's hard for me to keep going backwards in anything in life. I try to be in the present and move forward. But you always have those memories there for a rainy day, right? You can open up that Tupperware of 10, 12, and 14, and all of a sudden this bright light shines, and you think about all those great memories of the parade, the World Series, the playoff run, the players themselves. You grow so attached to players. You have such a deep relationship with the athlete when they win a championship. And that's always going to be there, especially with Bruce Bochy. But now that the organization is in a transitionary period, I feel like, with a new manager that's tough to follow the old manager and a different way of going about it. And for a lot of Giants fans, it's hard to wrap their heads around all of this because we're not used to it. We've never seen baseball like this. We've seen 10, 12, and 14, and it worked. Damn it. Why aren't we doing that? If you manage that way now, the Giants would be 15 games under 500. They would, just because there's so much information out there that there wasn't in 10, 12, and 14. So you do have to adapt to new times. You do have to figure it out. But that said, I've been a Giants fan longer than I was a player or a broadcaster, and I understand the sentiment. I get it. I like to go down memory lane. I like to think about how I teared up on the KNBR float when we turned the corner on Market Street in 2010. And I wear my Giants World Series ring every opening day, every year. And I have a World Series ring from 2019, and the only time I wear those two rings is on opening day every year. So there's great memories, even if, you know, it's not the same as it was. And I think when Bruce came back, what was it, a couple weekends ago? I don't want to say that because there's a lot of fires going on, but that made things worse for Giants fans. And now we're kind of comparing. It's comparing like, well, that and this. And I think change is hard no matter what it is. And we're all kind of adapting to the new way of going about it right now. And when it's not working perfectly like it did in 2021 with 107 games and every move game made work and every pinch hitter he threw up there hit a home run and every opener he used worked and it all just worked and worked and worked. It was like this, okay, all right. And then now 500 and then this and it's approaching 500 again. And I think Giants fans are having trouble with it. And I understand.
Well, FP, thank you for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Keith, good call, man. Let's go to Vince in Burlingame. Vince, you're on the Sports Leader. What's going on?
Hey, now, how's it going, FP?
It's going good, man. It's just a game.
Hey, exactly. Lighthearted. No big deals at all. I wanted to bring up a point I think a lot of people are missing. if I recall last year, right, a lot of people wanted the rookies to come up, right, get young, bring in the youth, et cetera. Obviously, there were injuries all throughout the minor league system, so that stunted some of it. But they're getting exactly what they asked for now, right? They're getting the young rookies. It's very similar to like 2009, bringing these guys up, getting them involved, getting them some major league, exposure, right, and getting them to play. And they're going to mess up. That's all part of it. But what happens next year? And I really feel like Pete Petrulia is a huge part of this, right, coming over from the Astro franchise and bringing over that whole thing of how do we bring minor leaguers through the system in a fast way, ensuring that they're not overachieving at a level, or rather they're always being challenged at each of these levels. And I think now we're seeing and reaping some of the rewards from that. So I'm just curious, what do you think about that, about Pete's influence as well? What do you think about the idea of, bringing up these rookies and having these guys get some exposure?
Well, I like Pete's philosophy in getting guys strong. If you look at the Astros players when they get to the big leagues or minor leaguers, he's big on strength and getting these guys really strong, and then you maximize your potential with a player. And I'm big on that because he did it in Houston, and you see prospects all over the place, and it works. So we'll see about the development. And it's kind of a hit or miss thing. Like with Wade Meckler right now, it's off to a really rugged start, his big league career. And when you're the little guy and you're always battling and fighting, I hate to relate it to my career, but I got a lot of hits my first week in the big leagues, or else I would have been right back in the minor leagues. And so when Brock Purdy got his chance, he went off. And when Patrick Bailey got his chance, even though he's a first-round pick, he went off. Like, ideally, when you come up here and you're beating the odds, you want to succeed. But when you talk about what Ramos and Matos have done lately, they're impressive. And the one thing I worry about, and who am I to say? I got a hat on backwards and I'm talking on the radio at night. I don't do it for a living. But, like, if you keep calling guys up and platoon them and they're young players, they're not used to platooning. When you're a minor leaguer, you play every single day. And it's a huge adjustment for a young player to wrap their head around, I'm going to play twice a week, or I'm going to play 3 times a week, or maybe even once a week, because you're not used to doing that. So it takes like a veteran mentality to go through trial and error. And how do I keep myself ready? Do I go stand in on bullpens? Do I have them turn up the machine to 100 so I can see velocity? How do I stay ready? And you can talk to veteran guys about how to stay ready as a young guy, but actually doing it's a different thing. So one of my really, really big concerns is if you call a guy like Casey Schmidt up and he doesn't play every day, and you call a guy like Luis Matos up and he doesn't play every day, and you call a guy like Elliot Ramos up and he doesn't play every day because you're into the numbers, the matchups, and that's your way of going about it, then all of a sudden in my mind, and maybe this is old school thinking, you're retarding development because how I don't know how to stay fresh. And then I get in there and there's 40,000 people and this guy's throwing 100 and I haven't played. I mean, that's a hard thing. I remember talking to young players when I was in D.C. and we would go have beers after the game in the hotel bar, and they were 2 young players with the ball club who shall remain nameless. And they really would sit there and confide in me, and they would be like, how did you stay ready, FP? Because we're not playing every day and we don't know how to do it. We can't wrap our heads around, I get 1 at-bat a night, I strike out, and I got to go back to my hotel room and think about the strikeout and look at the ceiling till 4 a.m. When in the minor leagues, if you struck out your first time up, you still had 3 or 4 at-bats left to like salvage your night, to make adjustments. So for a young player, this is not an easy thing. And not that, this is the end-all, be-all, or they won't be good players, but based on experience, that's the one thing in all of this that I'm a little bit like, I hope these guys can blossom here and get a chance to play, because not playing every day is really hard for a kid that's 21, 22, 23, or 24.
Absolutely. I mean, they do need to play every day, right? They need a longer leash. I kind of look at
but
the Warriors
it's not going to happen, because if it's a righty and you're a righty, and if it's a lefty and you're a lefty, it's just not. I don't know if that's going to happen.
But we're willing to play Camargo, right? So that's an interesting one, at least. But I look at, the Giants and the Warriors. The Warriors kind of the same thing. Warriors took a direction of trying to bring in youth with veterans and seeing if it would gel, right? And didn't really have a direction they were taking, which now today, right, they're taking a full veteran pace and going in that direction, saying, hey, we're going to go for championships over the next 3 years. I think the Giants are basically stating, hey, we want the full youth movement right now at the sacrifice almost of the playoffs. Obviously, the goal is the playoffs. The goal is to win, but they want to get the next group up so they create a new foundation, which then they can bring on, veterans to fill the gaps. I just think there's they're an in-between right now, trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. But certainly, like John said in the first call, platooning these players and not giving them, everyday at-bats, or not knowing, when you're, in the lineup or when you're pitching, et cetera, I think creates a little bit of anxiety, right, and instability, and I think reduces their confidence. But I really do appreciate the time, FP. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Vince. Thanks for the call. All right, 808 KNBR is the number. Gary, Mike, Pete, Jeff, everybody stay right there on hold. We got to take a quick commercial break. The 831 chiming in saying, you are such a Giant suck up. The Giants suck. The way they run now is terrible. That's the bottom line. That's 831-706. No, I'm not going to finish the number. No, I'm not a Giant suck up. I just know how hard it is. And I've done it for a living the majority of my life. So you don't crush people. Judge them by their body of work. That's what I've always said. If this is October 1 and they're under 500 and they don't make the playoffs, let it rip. I'm going to wait and hold back and save my judgment till then. Stay on hold if you're right there. Your call's next on the Sports Leader.
I was in Atlanta about a month ago myself, and did you stay at the Marriott Marquis?
I am not at liberty to say
you're not at liberty
the
to say.
Giants stay on the road.
Darn. Because
guys like
nice
you,
hotel.
Keith, you never know, man. You just never know, dude. You could be waiting in the lobby with I don't know. Will you sign this for me?
Right?
Will you sign this for me? All right, Giants lose 10-4 to the Phillies tonight in probably the biggest game of the year. Biggest series of the year so far. That's the team you're looking right at in the wild card. But now the Cubs are the number 2 wild card as of right now. And the Giants are not. So a lot of angry callers tonight. I get it. I understand. That's what the show is for, just a vent. And I will try to talk you off the ledge, but I'm definitely going to keep it real tonight. I'm trying to be as honest and open as I can. Let's go to Mike in Oregon. Mike, what's going on? You're on the Sports Leader. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, FP, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, man, this is a deja vu day, okay? You know what that means?
What's that mean? We've done this before.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to tell you why we did this before. What's today? Today is the 21st, correct?
Correct.
And the Giants had a bad game, and I missed the game. I didn't catch it today. So let's go back to May 12th. The Giants had a real bad day. They lost the game, and I missed that game. Why did I miss that game?
You were stoned out of your mind.
No, man, I had the heart attack. I called you from the emergency room.
Wait, stick your foot in your mouth, dumbass. All right, yeah, I remember that.
So
you didn't have a heart attack tonight, did you?
No, but I was in
things are getting better.
But I was in ER though, man. I did a face plant and I wound it up into a countertop, a corner of it, and I bruised all my ribs and my left arm and everything. And so I'm a train wreck, dude. But here's the thing. Here's my premonition, though. What happened after that? What happened? Casey was called up. Guess who's playing tomorrow?
Oh, my gosh. So the day after you had your heart attack, Casey Schmidt got called up and hit a home run. And now you just face planted into the corner of the counter. Are you all right, first of all?
Well, yeah, I didn't break nothing, but yeah, I'm going to survive. Yeah.
Are you calling from the emergency room? Are you calling from
No, I got home this time. I called you from home this time.
You're like Super Dave Osborne, I feel like.
Yeah,
do you remember Super Dave Osborne?
Yeah, I do, man. I do. I was him before it was him, man. I'm still here. No, I'm a black and blue Phillies plant, and the Giants are going to win tomorrow, and he's gonna knock the skin off of them, man. He's just going to skin them.
You know what? You know what's cool about tomorrow, Mike? And I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm knocking on wood right now. But usually when a team scores 10 runs on 16 hits, the next day it's cricket. So we'll see.
Well, again, I'm going on emotion. I'm going on how I've been with this team since day one, just like with you through spring training up through now, the ups and downs of it. Hey, man, I went down. I'm back up. Let's go, Giants. I'm up. Get your ass up. Let's go.
Mike, I hate to go here, but, like, say the Giants get to the World Series this year and they lose Game 6, and then there's a Game 7. Like, what are you willing to do physically to help the Giants win Game 7?
Well, I'll tell you what, FP, man. I think about it, but it's going to be spectacular.
No more. Come on. Every time you call, you make me worried about you. You're a regular on this show. You had so many fans worried on May 12th when you had your heart attack. You went face plant into the counter today. And I just hope you start to not get hurt and scare us every day.
I won't. But here's the thing: it actually didn't. It happened yesterday, but I went today because I couldn't get there yet. I couldn't get there. I was laughing to her because you get the gold star for play-by-play for blind people, especially in groundskeeping. I got to tell you, dude, you flipped me out. That was the best thing I ever heard.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I was on a roll. I was on a roll, and I was trying to describe what I was seeing, and my Twitter blew up, and the text line, I just checked it from yesterday, today blew up, and apparently I did something okay, and I had fun doing it.
Yeah. You made me do a face plant. I mean, I'm telling you, it was gold. It was awesome. It was real. And now let's get these guys tomorrow. Okay?
Let's get them tomorrow. Hey.
Push Philly back. Push Philly back, man. I'm taking none off them damn people from Philly. Come on.
Kyle Harrison's going to shove tomorrow. Mark my words.
All right, brother.
I've been wrong about a lot of things lately. Mike, I hope you're okay, dude. You know I joke because we're friends, and I hope everybody else knows out there too.
But you know what? I'm gonna. I'm still alive, man. I'm still bouncing.
I'm thinking maybe cheese grater to your face in Game 6, and that's good enough.
I don't know, man. We'll have to see. Man.
All right,
my
Mike.
face is too pretty. I can't do that.
It is. You are a good-looking dude. I will say that. You didn't like when I called you Charlton Heston, but you do look like Charlton Heston. All right, Mike. Thanks for the call. He looks like Moses. He's got the white beard. If he had like a staff and he parted the Red Sea. Here are the 10 Commandments. What movie was that? Is that Blazing Saddles? I'm trying to think. No, it was one of those movies where Moses comes out with 3 tablets and he drops one. He says, here is the 15. And then the one tablet drops 10 Commandments. One of my favorite lines. What were the other 5? 808 KNBR. What are the 5 commandments that didn't make the top 10? Let's go to who's been waiting the longest. Let's go to Jeff in Northern California. Jeff, you're on KNBR.
Hey, I love the movie Field of Dreams, but there's a mistake. They're coming back from Minnesota. They pick up a young hitchhiker. He says, oh, yeah, there's places that help you work during the day and play at night. There were no night games in 1922, but that's not why I called. Years ago, Marichal and Warren Spahn pitched 16 innings. Each pitcher threw 200 pitches. 200. Their arm didn't fall off. They both made their next start. Now we got a kid from Sacramento. Oh, my God. Can he throw 70? What say you, young man?
I don't know, Jeff. That's one of the most random calls we've got in a long time. But you have a great voice, first of all. I don't know how long he's going tomorrow. Is that what you've heard? I haven't even heard. 70 pitches?
Well, I don't know if he's done that in AAA. I'm just saying the human arm has not changed. They can throw more than 70, 80, 90 pitches.
Well, if you're built up to that, you can. It's just like if you've never run 10 miles and you're running 2 miles every day, and that's great. You're getting your work done. And all of a sudden, someone says run 15, and you haven't. You're not going to feel great the next day, and you might not be able to run for a while. It's the same kind of thing. Those guys you're talking about, they were built up to it. Maybe they didn't lift a lot of weights and get all bulked up or strong, and they drank whiskey and ate chipped beef before every game. And so it's a different time when those guys threw 200 pitches. Because they were accustomed to it, and it's something you got to build up to, just like anything else. You can't go try to bench 250 right now if you haven't benched ever. It's the same sort of thing. So can he throw 100 pitches? Yeah, but he's not built up to. He's not in shape for it, and you have to be in shape to do that.
Well, why not? The human arm hasn't changed. Okay, I love your show.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. The human arm. What was the brain line again? Can you play that rap? We have a lot of body parts going on tonight. I'm just like having trouble sticking with all the body parts. The brains have gone to their heads. Was that the line earlier? Talking about the Giants front office. Do you have it, Raph? When you get it, let it rip. Yeah, and then the human arm hasn't changed, and the brains have gone to their
The
head.
point about the defense, too, I want to see a lineup day in and day out. I think their brains have gone to their heads.
It's a good T-shirt, man. I would wear that. I don't know if I could, but let's go to Gary in Sacramento. Gary, you're on the Sports Leader. What's going on?
What's going on, brother FP? I love you as a player, and I love your show. Tried and true Giants fan, military kid, moved to Sacramento in the 4th grade, and been in love with them ever since. I think everybody just needs to take a chill pill. And what I would like to see would be to Farhan be a little bit more proactive in communicating his thoughts, and Kapler being, a little less analytical and a little bit more managerial. Does that make sense?
It does. You want him to manage from what he's seen with his eyes and trusting his instinct and all his baseball experience versus what all the analytics and the stat sheets say he should do in a certain situation.
Right. I mean, would he ever let Lopez throw 3 fastballs in a World Series?
Well,
no.
He doesn't call pitches. That's never on him.
I know, but it's like, I would rather him make a mistake on a gut instinct than just constantly say, well, this is what the numbers say, and this is what the numbers say.
Gary, here's the thing, and I hear what you're saying, and there's a big part of me that agrees with it, but like, if you're, say, the example I always use, and maybe this is a horse-esque example, is if you're playing blackjack and the dealer has a face card, and you're playing third base at the table, and people got a lot of money out there, and you have a 16, and you hit on it once and you bust, and then you have a 14 versus a face card the next time, and you stay on it, and he ends up flipping over a 10 and you lose, and you don't really have a method of doing it. But if you hit every time on a 16 or 13 or 14 or 15 versus a face card, and you do that every time, the odds say that you'll do better than you would if you flip-flop. So in his mind and in his theory, it's so ingrained in what he believes in and what he's been brought up with as a minor league director with the Dodgers. He saw it work. Farhan, same way with the A's, the Dodgers, now here. This is a theory and a method that they believe in deeply, obviously, and they've seen it work. And in their minds, if they start deviating from the plan, then all of a sudden you're leaving it up to just chance and luck. Whereas over a 6-month period, 162 games, if you do it the same way every time, and this is our method, it's been proven time and time again that if you put people in these spots, that it's going to work. But
no,
that's their theory. So I'm just explaining that method to it.
I'm totally on board with that, and I was probably one of the few Giants fans that were actually excited about the Kapler signing and Farhan coming up here. And I'm probably in the minority of the people that are glad that they didn't make a huge splash at the signing deadline, because I don't want them. I didn't want them to see them sell the farm for Scherzer or Verlander, because they're 1-2 year rentals, and we're not 1 or 2 years out from being back to the 10, 12, 14 years. I'd rather suck it up and be in the wild card game for 2 or 3 years, and just enjoy it and be a Giants fan. I think people are just freaking out.
I think so too, but here's the thing, Gary. I never, if I keep doing this for another 20, 30 years, wait, that'll make me like 85. I'll still be good at this. I will never criticize a fan for freaking out, because I love fans that are passionate. I love fans that have emotion, even though it's hard to see. Like, there's a lot of fire this guy, this team sucks everywhere on the text line tonight and on my Twitter. But I'm never gonna tell fans they can't feel a certain way. And if you call it's called this show, I'm gonna give you a lot of leash and let you talk however you want to talk about the organization, whether it's the Niners, Warriors, or the Giants. It's not just Giants. And I think that's what I want to give fans a voice. That's my goal in this show every night. And I'm never going to filter out, well, that guy wants to say something bad about the Giants, don't let him on. You have free reign without swearing to say whatever you want about whatever team on this show.
Hey, I'm a Sacramento Kings fan, so I'm a glutton for punishment. So maybe that's...
Well, hey, they're going to be really good this year.
I hope so. I really hope so. They've got a couple additions, and I know I live in Warriorsville, but I think they're going to be pretty good. They pushed the Warriors to the edge. They would have won that game if Steph didn't pop 50.
I think Chris Webber's going to have a good year, so I think you guys will do well. I really do.
All right, Pete. Nice talking to you, brother.
All right, Gary, thanks for coming on. Let's go to Pete in Placerville. Pete, you're on the Esports Leader. What's going on, Pete?
Hey, thank you for taking my call. You had talked about something briefly about a half hour ago about free agents and maybe not wanting to come to the club. And I've been thinking about this, and I wanted to call you about it, and you brought it up, so I have to call. And I'm just get 3 points out there as quick as I can. Power hitters are reluctant to sign with the Giants because of the parks, dimensions, the weather, and they're thinking, am I going to be platoon for righty-lefty matchups, or why? And this affects their marketability and their bottom line. And you got starting pitchers that in that park, you should have the best starters in the world. But they're reluctant because they don't know if they're starting, if they're in a bullpen game, pulled prematurely, in long relief. They want wins, these guys, And then thirdly, real quick, the team doesn't have a leader in the clubhouse. Why? Because Gabe Kapler, and he's a stud, great guy, whatever, he's an alpha male. He makes sure that that's not the case, man. The leaders left, Posey, Baumgartner, and Belt. Why? Nobody's stepping up to be a leader because Kapler's a leader. He's the big guy. And we gotta deal with that. We gotta set ourselves up for a compelling future. And yeah, signing Ohtani, and I thought that's great, but we have too many holes to fill. And if you want to talk about the 10 Commandments, this "I shall not covet your neighbor's wife" is a trip because it says you can't desire or seek to acquire. Didn't say anything you could be with her.
What if they're swingers?
Well, then you got agreement, right?
What if they're polyamorous? Okay.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know. I didn't know what that was until about 2 years ago.
Yeah, same. Well, I didn't know what it was until I moved back to San Francisco, and apparently it's a thing. So, yeah. All right, Pete. Well, hey, good call, man. I appreciate your opinions and voicing them on the show. Really good stuff. Thanks for calling. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. I need a break from the Giants just for a second. We're going to talk about the Niners. We're talking some quarterback talk. 808 KNBR, let's switch gears. What should the Niners do with Trey Lance? What do you think they should do with him? He was way better this week. Started off rough, threw an interception. You're like, ugh. And then all of a sudden, picked himself up off the mat and started dealing. I said last week, and I said this very firmly, that everyone expected him to miss a year and come out and just go off in the first preseason game. That's not the way sports works. That's why these guys play and get reps. Brock Purdy played 4 years in college, and he got the reps, and he stepped right in because he was ready. Trey Lance, because of injury and unfortunate circumstances, hasn't had those reps, and everybody was crushing him after week 1. There's still people that don't pay attention to the Niners on a national basis. They're crushing him after this last weekend against the Broncos. I thought he played decently. He was 12 for 18, 173 yards. I want to talk about Trey Lance. I want to talk about Brock Purdy. What should the Niners do with Trey Lance? 808 KNBR. We'll talk Niners next on the Sports Leader. I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old, I swear. That makes me laugh every time, dude. It gets me every single time. Gonna change gears a little bit. What'd you guys think of the Niners this weekend? I didn't watch it because I was working, and guess what? I'm flying on the plane home yesterday, flying a Delta flight from Atlanta to San Francisco, and it's on the NFL Network, so I watched it all coming home, which was nice because I was going to have to watch it this morning. It allowed me to go home and check up on my parents in El Dorado Hills today. So I drove home at 5 in the morning to El Dorado Hills, came back for the show, checking up on mom and pops. They're doing great. So I watched the game on the plane, and Brock Purdy was Brock Purdy, right? It was awesome. He just came out darting the short throws. He and Debo working well together. Run after the catch, 4 for 5, 65 yards, 80% completion rate. I mean, his longest completion was 25. It was Brock. Like, come on. This is a no-brainer. And everybody's freaking out about, if you're freaking out about interceptions in practice, then you don't know sports very well. I'm just going to tell you. Because, like, in practice, you're going to take chances that you normally wouldn't take. In practice, if you had arm surgery, you're trying to see if your arm can get the ball into windows that you used to be able to get them into, or you're just going to try and see, hey, my new bionic arm, let's see how it works. And you're going to take chances that you probably won't take in a game. And if it's like worried about, I don't know, a pitcher's ERA in spring training. Oh, he had a 14 ERA in spring training, but his career ERA is 2.90. But he had a 14. Who cares? I don't care how many interceptions Brock Purdy throws in practice. I don't even care what his. There was never Joe Montana went 20 for 21 today in practice. He threw 2 touchdowns to Jerry Rice. You just went to Rockland and you watched Joe in his tight 80 shorts throw to Jerry in his tight 80 shorts with, the shoulder pads on, if they had them on, or just maybe helmets that day. But you didn't keep track of what Joe Montana did in practice. But everybody has a job to do. I'm not getting on that. I don't put any stock into it. Spring training, preseason, who cares? I'm over preseason already. Start the games. I just can't get into games that don't count. As a player, I couldn't get into games that don't count. As a broadcaster, this year was fun because I was practicing and trying to learn a new trait. But Brock Purdy's practice stats, it's just dumb. I don't care. Throw 17 interceptions tomorrow. Guess what? You're Brock Purdy. And you were pretty good on Sunday. Not pretty good. You're really good on Sunday. And his track record now. Trey Lance, 12 for 18, 173 yards, TD interception. I thought he did a nice job of rebounding after the interception. He looked good. He was on time with some passes. So what should the Niners do with Trey Lance? 808 KNBR. Should he be the number 2, the number 3, or should they trade him? I'm rooting for him to do well because I like the kid. I want him to absolutely deal. Because A, if he does, you get more for him in a trade. And B, if he can figure out how to be a number 2, then you have a viable number 2. My only concern, I said this a lot last week, it's kind of along the lines of I just talked about the Giants. If you're a young player and you come up and sit on the bench, how are you going to develop? If you're a young player like Trey Lance who's had injuries and hasn't got a lot of reps, how are you going to develop holding a clipboard next to Kyle Shanahan? And then all of a sudden, heaven forbid, something happens to your number 1. I will not speak this into existence. That's why I didn't say his name. Then you have a guy with inexperience coming off the bench. The game's going to be moving super fast for him. So Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold's got a good arm. Having a good arm doesn't mean you're a good quarterback. Having a good voice doesn't mean you're making millions as a singer. You have to be a performer as a singer. American Idol, if you've ever watched it, the best voice doesn't always win. It's the person that wins is going to sell the most albums, going to get the most clicks because they can dance, they're attractive, whatever it is, they can sell. So Sam Darnold has a good arm, but is he an entertainer? Is he a guy? I mean, he's buttered noodles to me with a little Parmesan sprinkled on it. And Trey Turner's he's like the gravy. He's like the gravy your mom makes with the meatballs and the bolognese, and the cheese, whatever, all kinds of cheeses on it. He's everything. But Darnold, a guy, like I mentioned earlier, there's similarities between these sports and what I'm talking about. He's a veteran guy that's been there, done that. He'll know how to keep himself ready. And if he's called upon in case of emergency, he's going to go in there and he's going to do a damn good job. There's a wild card with Trey Lance that you don't know if that's going to happen, and it's not his fault. I want him to develop into a starting quarterback in the NFL, and if they trade him somewhere, I just like Jimmy G, I'll root for him. I know there's a practice squad, but reps on the practice squad isn't the same thing. If there was a AAA in football, Trey Lance would be a perfect candidate to send to the River Cats. Like, go down there, get some at-bats, and we'll call you up when we need you, when we need a quarterback. But he needs to play. There's no substitute. How do you slow any game down? How do you slow work down when you have a new job? How do you slow anything down? By doing it, reps. You guys heard me when I first started, like May of 2022 here. I was talking too fast every night. Probably still do, but talking way too fast. I was nervous every segment. I hadn't done radio in 11 years. And then you start doing it every single night. It just gets easier. Trey Lance needs to do it every single Sunday. Not in practice, not with a practice squad, because he didn't get the same reps that Brock Purdy got in college. Brock Purdy played for 4 years in a really good division at Iowa State against a high-level competition, and he was successful. Trey Lance hasn't done that. So to me, the practice squad or practice is not going to get him where you need to go. And one more preseason game is not going to get him where you need him to be. So that's the dilemma. Is he your 3 guy? Is he your 4 guy? What is he? And we found out last year that the Niners need like 15 quarterbacks. Hopefully it's Brock Purdy for 17 games or 18 or 19, whatever it is to win the Super Bowl. Hopefully he comes out and just is the same guy last year. I have full confidence that he will be. So 808 KNBR, I want to know what you guys think about this. Raph is taking a call. Let's go to Mike on his cell. Mike, you're on KNBR. What do you think, Mike? What should the Niners do with Trey Lance?
I think I'm kind of in agreement with what you just said. Is it comes down to experience. He had basically, when Brock Purdy plays his 8th game this year, he'll have played more than Trey Lance has in the pros and college combined.
Yeah, but here's the thing I don't get, Mike, and maybe you can help me with this. Like, we're at a bar, we're having a drink. Why all the hatred for not the hatred? That's a terrible word. Why all the criticism? Let me take that back. Why all the criticism for Trey Lance? Well, I feel like people are unfairly critical of him.
I'm not trying to criticize
not
him.
Not you. I'm saying in general. Okay. Like, help me with that.
I think because they spent so much money on picks and stuff that they did and traded up to get him at the 3rd overall pick, that the expectations are super high, and he's not living up the expectations. And that's a lot of different things. That's a lot because of the way COVID affected it and the way his injuries has affected him, and just the things that they were allowed to do with the players during COVID really hurt him. And he needs the time. I think the best thing he can do is find a team where he can actually carry a clipboard for 2 years or so and then maybe get a shot.
Jordan Love was balling for the Packers. Did you see that? I mean, he's been awesome.
A clipboard for 4 years.
He did. So maybe that would be the argument against my point, that maybe you keep Trey Lance around for another 2 or 3 years and he turns into the guy.
Jimmy G carried it for 4 years.
So did Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah. So all those guys, that it's not a bad thing. It's the way to get it to when you do go in there, you get some time. And practice squad isn't the same. You're right. But I think what it's going to come down to, though, is contracts, which is the business side of it.
Yeah.
We all want to talk about the football side and the fun side, but when you look at it at the end of this year, if they keep the 3 players and, they're going to have to choose between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, and it's really going to come down to probably what the cheaper contract is.
I would like to see Trey Lance play the whole game, or at least 3 quarters. Like, let him get some reps, let him get some snaps. I know you're starting to like not play your starters because you're getting close to the game 1, and I understand that, but I would love to see him just go out there and then just see what you got. Like, see him have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 drives to like put a game together, where it's almost like pinch hitting when you play like a quarter. Like, let him get some reps and some momentum.
I totally agree. I think that would be great. But then at the same time, you want Sam Darnold to even get more familiar with the system too.
True.
So, I think in the long run, it's going to come down to business in it, and they might end up keeping Trey Lance because I think he's still got a couple years, if not one more. And Sam Darnold probably will want more if he stays with the Niners for a second
Mike,
year.
though, here's the thing. Like, this is a Super Bowl ready team this year. I'm not looking big picture here, and usually I do if you listen to the show at all. I'm looking at this year. I'm all in. I'm pot committed to this team winning a Super Bowl because they were right there last year.
Get rid of one?
I don't know.
They don't need to get rid of one.
I don't think so. Keep 3.
So I think you just let them play, but keep both, you know?
Keep all 3.
You feel more,
yeah.
Yeah. When I say both, I mean the 2 backups.
Keep the 2.
Obviously, Purdy's starting.
Yeah, keep the 2 backups. And then whoever's playing better, if there's a need, they're the one that's going to go in. And maybe Trey keeps developing as the season goes in practice to where all of a sudden he's your number 2, and we probably won't even hear about it. He'll just, if something happens to number 1, he jogs out there, and you're like, oh, all right.
To me, Trey Lance is like a single-A ball player that they moved up to the pros right away.
Yeah, that's not going well so far for Wade Meckler.
Yeah, you talk a lot, and a lot of people talk a lot about the game slowing down for you. It's just not slow enough for him. He just needs the time. He's still relying a lot on athleticism and not seeing the game as it happens.
Yeah, and that's not his fault. None of this is his fault. He's a great kid. He's easy to root for, man. I was rooting for him Saturday against the Broncos. I was like, let's go, man. Let's go.
Totally. And when they came back and got that touchdown at the end, I was super happy, and that was really cool.
Yeah. All right, Mike, thanks for the call.
Wish him luck, and you got it.
Thanks,
Take care,
dude.
buddy.
Good stuff. Let's go to Moving Man in Santa Clara. Moving Man, you're on the Sports Leader. What's up?
Hey, FP, nice talking to you. Hey, I just want to mention, I know you get a lot of compliments. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon, but, you know, the more I listen to you, the more I appreciate you as a broadcaster. I love the fact how you tell it like it is, break things down, and it's no wonder you get a full board every night, people calling you up.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate the kind words, Moving Man. It's really nice of you.
And I mean it. Hey, 2 things. You wanted to talk about Brock the Rock. If he plays like he did last year, there's not going to be any issues. But, you know, nobody's mentioned this yet. His injury is tissues. It's my understanding there's never been a football player that had this type of injury. So even if he's off a little bit this year, and I pray that he isn't, I hope he's as strong as he was last year. I say we go to the Super Bowl if he's every bit as good as he was last year, health-wise. But we're not going to know that. You know, like I said, this injury, some injuries take a full year to heal. It might be at 90% right now.
There's been 2 other quarterbacks that have had this surgery. Nick Mullins, now with the Vikings, and Clayton Thornton, a 5th-round pick of the Eagles in 2019. So he's the 3rd one.
So how did they come back, in your opinion? Do you think they did just as well as they were before?
Both their arms fell off in week 2.
Really?
Yeah, like completely off their body. It was just laying on the field. So it didn't go well for those guys.
Okay. Well, I hope that doesn't happen to our
quarterback. That would be terrible.
The other thing, you know, when the Giants were playing the Braves and they only had 4 outs to go and Duvall was ready, and you made a comment, okay, if a runner gets on, they're going to bring him in. And I agree with that. And then, lo and behold, the hitter got a base hit, and
the hitter got a home run.
Yeah, well, he left him in, though. He left him in. And why didn't he bring Duvall in? He only needed 4 outs. They would have won that game.
I'm going to tell you why. Joe Rizzo, we have a sponsor, asked the announcer, and he said, you know, Camilo Duvall's got 6 days rest. What do you think? And I said, well, when the tie and run reaches, he'll probably go to his all-star closer. And for X, Y, and Z, he's rested. He'll have a good fastball. And maybe you extend him because he's had 6 days off. The reason he left Tyler Rogers in was because if you're reading swings, there was weak contact from, I'm talking Acuna, I'm talking Matt Olson, 2 of the best hitters in the world right now, hit like weak ground balls. They were out in front. They looked terrible. So all of a sudden you get a 2-out single from Marcelo Zuna up the middle, and the next guy, Eddie Rosario, who's having a career night, goes deep and breaks your heart. So I understand the sentiment. We talked about it, and we thought that would happen, but I'm not in the dugout. And I'm not defending the manager. The reason why I think he left him in is that he was watching the same swings we were watching, and all of a sudden it was the first home run that Tyler Rogers has given up to a lefty all year.
Okay, so as far as your comments, like you said, you're going to wait till the end of the year. I am too. I'll be calling you back.
Okay, and I'll be waiting for you, movie man. Thanks for the kind words, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good night.
Let's go to Daniel in San Francisco. Daniel, you're on the Sports Leader. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, man? I hear a lot of chatter about getting rid of Lance. What's this all about? You know what I'm saying? I open my door, someone's delivering to me, and they have to talk about how much they love Brock Purdy. I saw Brock Purdy play in Iowa, and he's a whole bag of chips. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
However, the Niners are a quarterback factory. People want our quarterbacks. And when these so-called fans who are supposed to know football, they hamstring the 49ers, and you start getting rid of good players that other teams are going to want, and you know, because you've been around, that this is going to work for the Niners. What are these fans thinking about?
Well, do you care?
I care.
So they're not going to influence the decision that's made?
Hope not. But still, 3 number 1 draft picks for one player, the Niners have to build this player up and trade him, and they ought to know that.
They are. Are you listening to the quotes, Daniel? Are you listening to how the players are talking about him? Are you listening to how his head coach is talking about him? They're all pumping him up because they want his value to go up in case they need to trade him. I mean, this is kind of, hey, let's be positive about Trey Lance. Everything that comes out of camp is all good stuff about him, from the players and the coaches.
He's an excellent quarterback. There's no doubt about it.
I don't think he's an excellent quarterback yet. I think he has potential. He's not an excellent quarterback.
Oh, mark my words.
He could be. He could be. He's not an excellent quarterback yet. He's not. An excellent.
Now, in college, the only thing Purdy needed was an offensive line. He's got it with the 49ers, and look at him. He's wonderful, right?
Right, but he gets the ball out on time. He extends plays. The game is moving slow. If you watch Trey Lance, it's still moving fast for him. The check downs, and he gets caught in the pocket. He gets sacked. These are things that, as he plays, will develop. But, this isn't a team that you're going to develop. This is a Super Bowl-ready team right now. So you don't have that luxury of letting Trey Lance develop in the heat of battle right now when you have the most talented roster, arguably, in the NFL.
So you're talking sacks. And the fans need to listen to what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm talking sacks. I'm talking about seeing the field. I'm talking about accuracy on the run. I'm talking about accuracy on the short pass. I'm talking about how you command a huddle. I'm talking about confidence, swagger that other guys feed off of when you're the leader of the team. There's a lot more that goes into playing quarterback, seeing the defenses, making reads, checking down, whatever it is, and how you go about it with a confidence level and you get the belief of your teammates in the huddle. There's so much more than throwing the football accurately. There's so much more than having a strong arm. It's having the intangible qualities of a winner that everybody looks at you in the huddle and says, we're going to win with this guy. And I don't think Trey's there yet. I think he has a chance to be that guy, though, and it's not his fault.
See, now I know you've played football before.
I have. I like football better than I like baseball.
I don't know. I like baseball best, but I tell you, I played football before. And I know when somebody knows what they're talking about, and you do.
Thanks, Daniel. Right? I grew up in a football family. My dad was a coach, so.
Teach these people something, please, quick, man. It bothers me.
Well, hey, you know what I said? I said this earlier about Giants fans. If you're a fanatic and you have a passion about a team, I really don't care what you say, as long as you're not derogatory to anybody or there's any hatred in it or there's swearing on the air. I love passion, man. Bring the passion every night on this show. Good, bad, whatever your take is, it's good enough for me on this show. I love all of it.
And you're wonderful on top of it.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for the call, dude. I appreciate it. Gonna take a quick break. Rafts are wrapping me up. If you're on hold, stay right there. I'll get your calls next on the Sports Leader. There's been 2 other quarterbacks that have had this surgery. Nick Mullins, now with the Vikings, and Clayton Thornton, a 5th-round pick of the Eagles in 2019. So he's the 3rd one.
So how did they come back, in your opinion? Do you think they did just as well as they were before?
Both their arms fell off in week 2.
Really?
Yeah, completely off their body. It was just laying on the field. So it didn't go well for those guys.
Okay. Well, I hope that doesn't happen to our quarterback.
That would be terrible. And here comes the grounds crew. We have a wheelbarrow, a rake, a broom, and a shovel.
Go to work.
Which one would you prefer, Joe? That's a deep hole. I mean, they're short on the mound. I mean, you could. That's a deep hole on the mound.
Yeah, no wonder. They're all taking turns. Now they got a tamp out.
They have like one of those pesticide things that you pump up, and then you have the wand, but that's water. Gabe Kapler is overseeing this whole thing, standing behind the mound with his arms folded, guns blazing on a Sunday afternoon. We're tamping it with the tamper as hard as you can. He's using his right hand. They put a bunch of clay in the hole. They're tamping it, and I'm wondering how you dry it now. Does anybody have a blow dryer? You get a leaf blower, maybe? Is there a leaf blower under there? If you missed it on Sunday in Atlanta, Tristan Beck came in, and I think it was Max Fried, the lefty for the Braves. It dug out a big landing hole with his foot. It was pretty deep. And Beck slipped on one pitch, and Dave Greshner came out. And then it's radio, right? So I had to do the play-by-play of the grounds crew. I've never seen anything like it in my life. There was like 8 grounds crew members on the mound. There was a trainer, a manager, a catcher, and a pitcher, and 2 umpires. And I think at one time I counted 10 or 11 people on the mound at one time. And I speculated that was a new Major League record unofficially on the air. So I just did 7 minutes of play-by-play to let you know at home during the game what was going on the mound. My Twitter blew up, and everybody said it was funny. I don't know. I was just talking matter-of-factly about what was going on during the game. So it was a good getaway day win. The Giants pulled it out late after it was back and forth. The Saturday night game, by the way, if you guys watch this, one of the best baseball games I've ever been a part of in person. Like 42,000. That place, the Braves fans are into it. It was a party. It was rocking. It was raucous. It was back and forth. The Giants scored. The Braves scored. The Giants scored. It was a great baseball game. And if you watch that and you're not a baseball fan after that, I can't help you, because that was as good as it gets. Even though the Giants lost, and the last gentleman that called had a good point, I was thinking they might bring in Camilo, but it just Tyler Rogers was cruising, and it was just like bip bip. Oh my God! And then a gut punch loss. But it was if you take that part out of it, but still. Even when Eddie Rosario went back to left field, the 42,000 were chanting Eddie, and he tipped his cap, and they went nuts. And even though we're all Giants fans, and it sucked, if you're a baseball fan, sometimes I'll check out mentally of who I want to win and who I don't, and just kind of enjoy the sport. Yeah, it was a good baseball game. Laughed so hard when you said that Sunday. Great play-by-play, 480, chiming in about had fun, man. If you can't have fun broadcasting baseball, at first I was too nervous and I cared whatever he thought. Now I give 0 Fs. I'm just up there having fun, and hopefully I'm doing a decent job. And I'm always grateful for the opportunity. Really, really cool, the Giants, to let a guy like me go up there and try play-by-play. I've been having a blast. Loverboy and Tracy, he wants to tell everybody to relax. Loverboy, what's going on?
Hey, FP. Just so you know, you're talking to someone who knows the game. Former Little Leaguer here. Just had to chime in.
Hey, you do know the game. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. But I had to call in because I couldn't help but laugh every now and then. You know, I think about my grandparents who moved to the Bay Area the same year as the Giants did in 58, and their lifespan, my dad's lifespan, and finally mine. I remember thinking the Giants are never going to win a World Series. And this was the beginning of 2010, I believe, with John Bowker starting. And then we did it. You know, we did it 3 times. So I think everyone needs to calm down. We act like we finally did it. Life's going to be good forever. Then here we are complaining again. I know we want to win, but it kind of helps me keep perspective as a fan, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out, and I understand Giants fans' passion, and I love it. And I will put Giants fans' intelligent level and passion up against Mets, Phillies, Red Sox, Yankees, just because of the way they love their team, and they want their team to win, and they've got a big taste of it, right, for 3 years, 10, 12, and 14. So I get that, but when you're around the game your whole life, and it's the only thing you know a tiny bit about, and you've seen things flip on a dime, I'm a little concerned right now. I'd be lying to everybody listening right now if I said, yeah, they're going to be fine. I don't know that. I don't know how the season goes, but Loverboy, the way I look at it is I'm waiting until October 1st to see where all the chips fall, and then hey. Then this is big boy sports, man. And if it ain't going the way you want it to go and the way the ownership wants it to go, the way Farhan or Gabe wants it to go, like, we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to flip out until it's time to flip out. Freak out when you find out. I saw that on Ted Lasso once. It's one of my new favorite sayings. Freak out when you find out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I'm not trying to be too negative on people who are passionate about the game. But one of my concerns truly, though, without being too overdramatic, is the whole Farhan thing. You know, I think people do have a legit point sometimes where I'm just wondering if your perspective, do you think sometimes that maybe the whole thing we're doing here in San Francisco with the analytics, and sometimes it does seem a little extreme, do you think maybe they're going too much for, instead of trying to be fresh, it's almost like they're thinking 20 years down the line, they want to be the guys that reinvented the wheel and they want to be known for this kind of thing? Or am I just overthinking it?
I think their brains have gone to their heads.
I did not say that. That was a quote from earlier. We had a caller say, I think their brains have gone to their heads. And I was like, that's one of the greatest, that's one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard in history of life. That's fantastic. I think their brains have gone to their heads. I will say this, Loverboy. I don't know enough about analytics to comment. What I would say is, if 30 other teams are doing the same thing you're doing, no matter if it's math, if it's analytics, if it's old school baseball, if it's scouting and development, if everybody's doing the same thing, where's the advantage? And if everybody's doing analytics, you got to have some sort of formula or edge or crew assembled or way of evaluating things that makes sense to everybody in the organization. In my experiences, I don't know what's going on in the corner of 3rd and King. In my experiences, when you have a nice mix of old school baseball that has experience, that's open to new school baseball and all the analytics and the data, and you can mesh those two and everybody's kumbaya, and it's not too much of one and not enough of the other, I think that's when you have the best recipe for success.
No, I agree. I think the key word is balance, and I'll let you go, but I'm about to not have too much balance because I just had boba. I went whole milk, and I'm going to be in a world of hurt here in a second. So,
Loverboy,
take it off the air.
Thanks. What's boba? What's boba? Do you know what boba is? I can't hear you. It's iced tea, right? All right. Does it make you like take a huge dump or something? Is that what he's talking about? All right. Let's go to Alex in Arizona. Alex, you're on KNBR.
Hey, FP. Hey, FP, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Alex?
Good. How's Philly treating you?
I'm not in Philly. I'm in downtown San Francisco. I flew home from Atlanta last night.
Okay, I'll tell you during the whole road trip.
No, but half's good enough. It was fun in Atlanta. It was really cool to be. I saw a lot of old friends there because when I was working for a team in the NL East, we went to Atlanta 3 times a year. So it was nice to see the stage manager and the sound, the audio guys, and the security guards. When you go to a place for a decade, I made a lot of friends in that ballpark, so it was really cool to see them.
Right. When you brought up the list of quarterbacks that had the surgery Brock Purdy did, you forgot one quarterback.
Yeah?
Roethlisberger, and they made the playoffs the next year.
Did he have that surgery, though?
Yeah, Tommy John, right?
No, this is like with the bridge or whatever it's called, surgery.
Oh, I thought Purdy had Tommy John surgery.
No, he didn't have the full-blown Tommy John.
Okay, then. I digress. But on the...
It's called the internal brace. Why do I keep calling it the bridge? It's because there's a Bay Bridge and a Golden Gate Bridge, so I just feel like they put a bridge in his arm since he lives in San Francisco.
You're in the city of bridges, yeah.
Yeah.
If
they put the Golden Gate Bridge in his arm, I feel like I don't know about the mobility, but I feel like he'd have a stronger arm. Buckled him.
Yeah.
3-2 change up.
Yeah.
Alex, what do you got?
No, I thought it was a good game by the Phillies tonight, man, because I'm actually a Phillies fan. So I thought it was a good game, good win. But my question, though, is if the Phillies sweep the Giants, what is the tiebreaker? What is the next tiebreaker? Because we'd be 3-3.
Not sure. I don't even know. I know if the Phillies sweep the Giants are in trouble. How about that? And I do know that.
All right.
All right, Alex. Go back to rooting for your Phillies. Quit calling our show.
Yep.
Kidding. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Rich in San Jose. Rich, you're on KNBR.
FP, nice to talk to you again.
Thanks for calling, Rich.
Hey, so I started out wanting to talk to you about the Giants, but then you kind of triggered me with the Trey Lance discussion.
All right. What did we trigger? Some deep-seated issues with quarterbacks?
No. So you know what? So let me touch on the Giants for a second.
Okay.
I think you made a really good point in that with the whole analytics thing, and at the same time wanting to play the young guys, but that the young guys aren't used to playing sporadically the way the Giants are trying to do. And I don't know that experiment necessarily is going to work, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, man. I was never good at it, or I'd have played a lot longer. I needed reps to be decent enough to stay in the big leagues. And when I started playing once a week for the Dodgers, my game went south in a hurry. And that was when I was in my 30s. I can't imagine if I was in my early 20s. And I've talked to a lot of guys, as I mentioned, that are in their early 20s that just get called up. That it's just hard. It's hard not to get a rhythm. When you're playing every day, you can slow down 98 to where your eyes are adjusted to it. You have the luxury of making adjustments in the middle of an at-bat or from at-bat 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. And I remember, like, when I had 4 at-bats a night, say the third at-bat, I would take a pitch, and my foot would get down on time, and I would see it big, and I would be like, oh, I got it. Like, I got my rhythm back, and I would barrel up a baseball. Didn't guarantee me a hit. But you have the luxury of when you play every day, just like we're talking about with Trey Lance, getting the reps and slowing things down. If you're 22, 23, 24, and you don't play every day and you're platooned, you do have the luxury of knowing when you're playing. But then all of a sudden, you're out there and you've never done that before. You've never played once every 3 or 4 days. You're used to playing 4 days a week. You play every day in the minor leagues. So that's a huge adjustment. And then it's hard to learn. And then you wonder how it affects their development over the long haul.
Right. No, I think that's a really good point that I hadn't occurred to me. Maybe that hasn't occurred to a lot of people, but yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, and I do appreciate your passion for baseball. It's clear. It clearly comes through when you're speaking on the radio. So, but anyway, with regards to Trey Lance, here I got, I'm not a Trey Lance hater. The problem I have with Trey Lance is not so much Trey Lance. It's just the fact that I feel like the Niners, they basically they handed the keys to a Ferrari over to a teenage driver, right? They hardly played in college, and so what did they expect that they were going to get, right? You know, they weren't going to play this guy for a couple years to see him develop and give him the reps. Yet they expected him to walk in and run the show, which maybe was not a realistic expectation. So they kind of backed themselves into this corner now, right? Where like, okay, well, this guy's not going to get any better if he's a backup, but yet at the same time, if you start him, well, now you're not a championship caliber team any longer, but yet you got a roster full of Pro Bowl players who are only going to, be happy with this situation for so long. Right?
Well, Rich, I guess like thinking on the fly right now, and that's what you do on Sports Talk Radio. There is such a great cast around him. You wouldn't be asking a whole bunch of him. Should he be called to duty? Right? You're talking about Trey Lance. I mean, he could do all the short passes to deep. Well, I guess short passes and the accuracy has been a big thing with him. So I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't. It's just a circumstance, right? Because of injury, he hasn't got reps. And now do you want a number 2 guy that's sitting on the bench based on your first point about Giants players that are young? And then now you got this guy that's young. And how is he going to get the experience to slow the game down? There's a lot of parallels, dude. There really is between the Trey Lance situation and, young guys coming up the big leagues that aren't playing and getting the reps.
Right, exactly. So again, like I said, you made an interesting observation with regard to the Giants, and I think it applies to this Trey Lance experiment and what the Warriors tried to do last year. And I don't know, maybe organizations need to think about that.
I agree,
anyway.
Rich. Good call, man. Thanks for calling. The calls have been like totally on fire tonight. It's not like the crazy fans saying this guy needs to be fired. And it's like it's not. It's passionate and well thought out. Let's go to AJ in Pacifica. AJ, you're on the Sports Leader.
Hey, Frank Paul. I am your youth audience here. I'm on the YouTube stream.
Thanks, dude. How old are you, AJ?
22.
Sweet, dude. Thanks for listening. You're just what we're looking for. What's AJ stand for?
Austin James.
All right. I'll be Frank Paul. You're Austin James. Go, Austin James.
I just want to quickly shout out the YouTube chat. There's some really funny things.
Is there really? How do I got to get on that right now. Is it funny?
Yeah. Can I read just one or two?
As long as it's clean, absolutely. You can read anything you want.
Best thing the Giants can do now is not load the bases by David Carmack.
I mean, there's so much low-hanging fruit here, too, but keep going. I did you hear what I was planning on doing tonight? I had a tweet that got like 600 likes yesterday, and I was going to read all the comments because there's some really funny, and I might just do that. I'm giving fans a voice. I'm not trying to rip anybody. They're not my idea was to make this a permanent segment on the show that if I put out a tweet and there's a lot of comments, to read the comments because it's kind of like mean tweets, same kind of thing. But go ahead, AJ. What are the other comments?
I like somebody just says barbecue sauce with fire emoji.
That is a great one from Ted Lasso.
Farhan doesn't value critical thinking.
Okay.
It's boring baseball. They need a spreadsheet to make a decision.
All right. Well, you should have stopped at the first one. Those were good. So what do I go to YouTube? I hit subscribe to the KNBR page. Want to subscribe to this channel?
Yeah, it should. There's like a live tab. Like if you guys are streaming,
I should know this. What am I doing? yeah. Just go to the KNBR YouTube page. I got it. Yeah, I got it. It's right here.
I have one question. Then also, I just want some freaking hope, man. Like I believe in this team even when they're down because baseball. But do you?
What would give you? I think your hope might be coming in the form of a lefty tomorrow. I really do. And I'm going to stick to that. We haven't even got to Kyle Harrison. We're at 9:30 yet. And it's not burying the lead because everybody's kind of been so passionate about what happened tonight. But you might have that hope in this lefty tomorrow. And let's all do this. Can you guys promise me something? Let's all like do a pinky swear promise. Everybody listen right now. That good or bad, we don't overreact to a 21-year-old from De La Salle High School tomorrow. Like if he goes 6 shutout and strikes out 12, he's not Madison Bumgarner. If he goes 3 and gives up 8 runs, he's not insert anybody's name. that's not good. So, like, we're going to have that tendency tomorrow, right? Like, when I'm going to be the first show in tomorrow after his game. I'll have the luxury of watching the game, and we're on the air, and we'll hear your thoughts, 808 KNBR, like we do every night. But, like, don't overreact either way. And I might be talking to myself, AJ, right now, like, because if he does deal tomorrow, I'm going to want to come on here and say, oh, but like, and if he does give it up tomorrow, I will, I'm not going to overreact tomorrow. But this could be, dude, this could be your guy. This could be, not to put everything on his shoulders, but I'm putting everything on his shoulders. Like, let's go. We need starters, and we need starters to step up. There's some guys that want to start that haven't stepped up. There's some guys that do start that have stepped up. Logan Webb's a stud. Alex Cobb, pitched a great game against the Braves the other day. Like, he gave up 3 runs, and then one of his runs scored, so it was 4 total. But he, like, battled. And I'm going to share something with you, and I don't think this is, like, pulling the curtain back too much. We were getting off the bus yesterday for the day game, and I was walking in the tunnel with Logan Webb. And I looked at him, and I said, great job last night, bro, and I gave him nuts. He's like, thanks. He looked at me, and he said, that lineup. And that's all he said. Like, that lineup for the Braves, AJ, you got to come out of the bullpen like you're a closer. And any number 1 is like any number 9, and it's a save opportunity. And guess what? Any number 2 is like any number 9. And any number 3 is like any number 9. And you're the closer for 5 innings as a starter against this team. Because if you take one pitch off mentally, if you're like, oh, I'm 0-2 right now, I'm just going to boom, boom, boom. Like, that lineup is one of the best lineups I've seen in a long, long time in the big leagues. So to have Alex Cobb go out there and fight, and have Logan Webb go out there and fight, and now if you have this kid come up and he fights, like, there's a chance. There's still a chance here if you get Yaz back and things happen in the right way. So I'm not jumping off this bandwagon until they're eliminated and there's no playoffs in the picture. If that happens, why did I even say that?
Yeah, totally. Okay, one question, then I can go, I guess. But what's it like as a player when you're like in long slump? I don't know what you'd call this. And are you guys, like, as a player, do you know your record? Do you know how many games you've lost? Like, are guys down, or just each day you just play for that day?
You play for that day, dude. Like, when I was with the Nats, they had a saying, go 1-0 every day. And that's the mentality you have to have as a player. So once you leave that locker room, ideally, AJ, and it doesn't happen with every guy because there's 26 guys with 26 different makeups, that when you leave that clubhouse, you leave it there, you wash it off in the shower, you come back, and it's all you can do is control that day when you walk in. So just go 1-0 today. I think there's a number of guys that know where they are in the wild card. I would venture to guess that there's a number of guys that don't know where they're at in the wild card. I didn't really look at the standings. You just have a feel, and you're just trying to win one game because it's so hard to win one game in the big leagues. And when you do, you celebrate. Then you come back the next day and you try to win one game. Then you get on the plane and come home and you try to win one game. And if you can have that mentality of being in the present, not worry about what happened yesterday, not worry about what's happening tomorrow. And this is kind of a good philosophy for life, too. If you can be present and worry about that game, now you're focusing all your energy as a player on where it needs to be and where it has to be. Because at the highest level, man, any advantage, any edge you have over that team, they have over you. If I'm still thinking about yesterday in my 0 for 4, I'm going 0 for 4 today. If I'm thinking about Randy Johnson's pitching tomorrow, I got to get a hit today. I ain't getting a hit today. I got to lock into the moment. I got to be present. And that's how you get through, AJ, 162 games. Every single day. If I start thinking about we're playing this team next and this team next and this, I got on planes, AJ, charters in the big leagues as a player, and we would be flying for an hour and say, where are we going and who are we playing next? That's how in the moment I was. I didn't know the schedule. I didn't know where we were going. I just knew I wanted to beat that team's ass that day, leave it out there for 3 hours, get on the plane, have a beer, relax, and I'd be like, where are we going? Philly, Pittsburgh, where are we going? And guys would laugh, like, you don't know where we're going? No, I didn't look at the schedule. I just knew we were starting in Atlanta, and I really didn't look after that.
Yeah, okay. That was great. That was beautiful, man.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks for calling, bro. Keep calling every night. I got to take a break. AJ from Pacifica, great call. You're going to take a quick break. If you're on hold, stay right there. Betty, I see you waiting. Sparky, I see you waiting. You guys stay right there. We got some open phone lines if you want to sneak in right now. 808 KNBR is the number. Your call's next on the Sports Leader.
I think their brains have gone to their heads.
Raph, this caller has a great idea. Maybe we should ask Kevin Graham, our program director, about this. Since it's a caller-driven show, the 415 chimes in and said, man, Johnny was such a great call. That was Johnny said the brains thing. Wish you could podcast the listener-nominated favorite call of the week. You sounded great on the broadcast this weekend. Thank you. You keep getting better and better. Sunday was especially fantastic. Thanks for all you do. That's the 415 chime in. Thank you for the kind words. That's not a half-bad idea. Like, we take the caller of the week, like a guest, and we put them on the podcast. And we call it the KNBR Tonight Caller of the Week. And then you get to stay on the podcast, and you go to the KNBR website. I think we can pull that off. I don't think that's a big ask. Dude, whoever you are, 415-754. I'm kidding. I'm not going to say your number. That's really good. Thank you. Not just because you complimented me, but that's a really good idea. I appreciate you guys. That's why I say it's our show. We're very open to suggestions here. And that's maybe one of the best ones I've had. And Johnny would be the caller of the week. And that's nothing against anybody else. You guys are all... I'm watching, so the YouTube is a little behind, and I'm realizing how much I talk with my hands. Because I don't see it live over here, because this is delayed. Holy crap. I'm so Italian. Look at this. That's 4 seconds ago. I need to put my hands behind my back. This is embarrassing. Raph, do I do this off the air too when I'm talking to you? Come on. Do I sit here and go talking like...
Lee Hammer says no.
Lee Hammer's in Philadelphia. Lee Hammer's in Philadelphia. Did you know Lee Hammer's in Philadelphia? Yes. Let's go to Sparky. Sparky and then Betty. Sparky. I love the name. Sparky, you're on KNBR.
FP, I love you on the night show. Hey, you are definitely the what Sebastian Maniscalco is to comedy. You are tonight talk show on the with your hands and the emotions and stuff. So it's great. So don't change a thing. But hey, I got a question for you. Whenever you played, because you have a lot of one-liners, I don't think your audience gets you as much because you got little baseball-isms all the time. When you were not playing every day and you were down to 1 or 2 times a week or spot players, did you have guys you gelled with that just kind of, just talk smack on other team players or whatever, just crack jokes, or were you super serious all the time?
Oh, no. When I wasn't playing, I had fun. But when I was playing, I was a jerk. And I had to be a jerk. And I want to use another word because I wanted to beat you, and I didn't care if the other team liked me. I didn't care. I remember when I came to the Giants, Rob Nen grabbed me in the clubhouse, in Scottsdale, first week. He's like, we used to hate you. He goes, but you've been here a week and we like you. And we're glad you're on our side. And I was like, oh, thanks. He goes, no, I mean that as a compliment because you were a pain in the ass. And that was what I took pride in. And when I stopped having that edge is when I knew the end was near because I didn't care if the other team hated. I wanted the other team to hate me. I wasn't out there to make friends. I was out there to beat your ass any way I could. So, yeah, it wasn't lovey-dovey baseball when I played. But when I didn't play and if I had a day off, I was the guy on the bench that would drive the manager so nuts that he would play me because he was sick of having me on the bench because I was making too many jokes and playing practical jokes and talking too much and all that stuff. And now it turns out that I'm making money doing it now. How about that?
Well, you should have been a pitcher. That's all I got to say.
No, those guys aren't athletes.
Those guys are a little loose, though. But, hey, back to the young players and how you're talking about it. I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about we can be so emotional. I'm not a Giants fan, number one. I'm actually a Reds fan. So I want the Giants fans out there to know that having young players is an exciting thing. And I know they want to go to the playoffs and win every year, since 2016. I don't know when the last time they had a team that was worth it when they won 107 games. But the young, exciting players they got, if they're patient, you guys are 35 games away of being in the playoffs. Yeah, people are kind of losing their mind in San Francisco, and I kind of just trip on it because I'm a Reds fan, and I look at the young players we got, And I'm so excited to be 3 or 4 games above 500 and even having a shot.
Dude, Ellie De La Cruz is an exception, dude. Like there's no Ellie De La Cruz here. That's a once in a blue moon player. I mean, he's amazing.
Lefty right there. And Encarnacion Strand, he's going to be another one. But
he's a local kid.
Yeah, and he's going to be a stud. And they just brought up Marte, and so I mean they had an all-starting freshman, or actually I should say rookie. I think for the first time in 100 years, they started the whole infield was rookies.
That's exciting.
And so that was
Sparky,
and that's what the Giants got to look forward to.
Yeah, and I like that, but they have to play, and that's the hard part because you want to win now, and you're right there, and you're the wild card. And if you do get to the playoffs, I think my thing, Sparky, is maybe your rookies will be exposed in the playoffs for the Reds because experience plays in October.
They will.
It does. Experience plays.
And I agree with you. And what I'm saying, though, is not now, but you got Matos and these other guys, and then the guy that's going to throw tomorrow from De La Salle. Those guys, 3 or 4 years blended with, I think what Farhan's doing is a good thing because I do think I'm not an analytics guy. I'm older than you, so I'm back to the gut feeling of the manager. I can't stand the analytics, but I know it's part of the game. I mean, there's going to be a day, FP, when you're probably still on the radio and there won't be a coach, and you go to a computer and hit the situation, and they'll tell you who's supposed to play and who's going to pitch and who's going to be on deck, and you won't even need a manager. I mean, that's what it's coming to, and it kind of sucks. But anyway, love you on the night show. I think you're one of the best, brother.
Thanks, Sparky. I like the Reds. It's a good team, and maybe that's why your name's Sparky for the Reds. I like that. Sparky Anderson was a manager for the Reds, the Big Red Machine back in the day. And, yeah, if there's robo-managers, are they going to be like the cars that just stop in the middle of the intersection? A guy goes out to argue, and what do you call it when you short circuit? And so, like, a robo-manager goes out to argue a strike call with the robo-ump, and then they just freeze, and they stand there. And it's not a rain delay anymore. We have a robot malfunction delay, and they're just standing there. And then you have sometimes, if you're an umpire and you don't want the manager to come out of the dugout, you put an orange cone on him so he can't come out of the dugout because he's a robot. Is that what we're getting to right now in baseball? I tell you what we're getting to, Sparky, is someday we're going to say, remember when we had starting pitchers? It's just going to be pitchers. There's going to be no starters, no relievers. It's going to be pitchers. In our lifetime. Remember when we had starting pitchers? Remember Pedro Martinez? He was a starting pitcher. What's that, Dad? Well, in the old days, you used to get the ball in the first inning and you'd go 7, 8, or 9 innings. 6 innings was a quality start, son, but that's a horse crap stat, and I never adhered to it. But, yeah, there used to be a guy, and he would go out there, and he would start a game, and every once in a while, he'd finish it. He'd go the whole game. No way. Yeah. Well, how come there's 4 or 5 pitchers a game now? Well, because the robots, they started in baseball, and they grew brains and feelings. And then by the year 2047, they took over baseball. And now it's just all based on AI. The whole game is AI responses. The umpires are AI. And that's why you only see a pitcher throw 4 pitches now. After the 4th pitch, they're taken out of the game. So they've increased their rosters to 72. And now there's 72 players on the roster because every pitcher only throws 4 pitches. But that pitcher throws 112 miles an hour because that's all he has to do is throw 4 pitches. That's going to be the game in the year 2047. Let's go to Betty and Benicia. Betty, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Betty, you're the best. Thank you for waiting.
Call.
Thanks for waiting, Betty. What do you got tonight? You're a sweetheart.
Patience. Well, listen, go 49ers. We're almost here. September the 10th. Don't forget.
Let's go.
All right. But listen, I just have to say that Lance played much better this time, and I was real happy for him. And I think he should be number 3 quarterback.
And just let him develop, let him marinate, and hopefully he learns the system and he gets better every day. And in 3 years, he's your quarterback.
That's right, because everybody has to start someplace, right? And that's what it's going to take for him. So that's where I'm at.
Well, Betty, I'm with you. I like Trey Lance, and I root for him, but like Brock Purdy's the guy right now, and You never know what's going to happen in a season. You just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to unfold in 17 games in such a brutal and violent sport. You don't know how this team's going to start. They need to. Everyone's talking about quarterback. The Niners need to get out of the gate fast. They haven't got out of the gate fast the last 2 years. They're playing this come from behind crap. They need to get out of the gate and win some games. Lickety split this year. And how many KNBR hosts today have said lickety split? I want to ask you that. Nobody. Betty, thanks for the call.
Okay, have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
That was a lickety split call. Let's go to Gabe and Martinez. Gabe, you're on the Sports Leader.
AFP. Today's game, I mean, man, it was a grinder, and, I was really a little disappointed with some of these, the vets like, Flores and Camacho, when they had the bases loaded and they were in the hole like 0-2, 1-2, and then they were like swinging and, like trying to reach for grounders and like tapping back to the pitchers. At some point you got to say, hey, I'll take the strikeout and let the other guy, get a chance, because Wilmer's hobbled. He can't run out.
Wait, you're telling hitters to take the strikeout and give the other guy a chance?
Well, I'm just saying you have a better plate.
I used to hate when Barry Bonds did that. When Barry was on deck, he would do that all the time. Barry would yell at me and say, FP, strike out so I can hit. I'd be like, okay, Barry, whatever you say. Watch. I'm going to swing at this one no matter where it is. And he'd be like, thanks. He would. Selfish. The guy's selfish.
No, man. I'm saying I think like Flores, he usually has a better plate appearance. Like at least from the whatever you see on the that MLB app, it was look like a foot outside of the plate,
Yeah, well, they need a priest. They need a priest in holy water with the bases loaded right now, and to maybe do an exorcism at home plate. And maybe we pinch hit Linda Blair. I'm not sure right now, but something's going on with the bases loaded. We have a curse. The old Bull Durham line, we have to cut the head off a live rooster. Candlesticks make a nice gift, and we're dealing with some serious ass. Yeah. There's something going on. There's some maybe tomorrow Andrea can call the show and maybe she's the one that cursed the bases loaded right now. Maybe she needs to take her curse off the Giants with the bases loaded. All right, Gabe, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I got to take a quick break. We'll end the show on the other side. It's been fun with you guys tonight. We'll wrap up the show next on the Sports Leader. Holy crap. I'm so Italian. It's my walk-up song, dude. It's my walk-up song in Montreal for 2 years. Then I went to Rush, Working Man. Trying to think of my Giants walk-up song. I think it was How Does It Feel? How does it feel? I like this song because it says, there goes my hero, he's ordinary. Great show tonight. Had so much fun with you guys. Do you guys feel better? Giants lose 10-4. It was an ugly one tonight.
Yes.
But we had a lot of callers, very intelligent takes. Johnny led off the show with one of the best calls I've ever had on this show. Not to rank him or anything, but if we do Call of the Week, Johnny will be on our podcast this week. And I'm going to see how I go about doing that tomorrow. It's a really good idea. We'll be here 7 to 10 tomorrow around that time to do the post-game wrap. John will do the highlights, and then we'll be on after the Giants beat the Phillies tomorrow night. And Kyle Harrison absolutely shoves and goes 6 strong, giving up 3 hits and striking out 7. That's going to be my call for the line tomorrow. 6 shutout, 3 hits, strikes out 7, walks 3. Can you clip that for tomorrow? You guys are amazing. You blow me away every night. Your passion and how well thought out your calls are. I don't remember it being like this when I was here in 2009 and 2010. I remember getting calls and they were half funny and half weird. But you guys bring your A game every single night, man. Like, you make my job so much easier and so much more entertaining. That it's a great job to begin with, but you guys make it even better. So thank you very much for all the calls tonight. Like I said, it's an open forum here to vent, to let us know how you feel about any sports team you want to talk about. Right now, the Giants were the feature tonight because it was a huge game. It's a huge series. And they didn't come out on top, and it was an ugly game. There was errors and misplays and double plays and guys getting doubled up, down by 6. All that stuff can't happen. And these are teams you're going to play in October if you get to October. You're going to play the Braves if you're lucky. You're going to play the Phillies if you're lucky. I say play Ramos and Matos and let them go. Let them all go. Let's see what happens. What do I know? I'm just a night host. Raph, good job, man. As always, thanks for all your hard work. You do a great job. We'll be back tomorrow night after the Giants game right here from the studio. So like I say on the way out every single night, swing hard in case you hit it on the Sports Leader.
I think their brains have gone to their heads.